Hey mate! Today you can find on YouTube or elsewhere a million tutorials that will teach you the technical part of almost any artistic practice. And that's cool, but often it implies that the artistic sense is something innate. You either have it or you don't. Well, no. Artistic sensitivity, understanding what works aesthetically, that too is a skill that you can learn. To become an artist, you have to educate your hands, but also your eyes. Finding inspiration should be part of the daily hygiene of any creator. Analyzing photos, illustrations, going to exhibitions, watching movies, and now you can also add watching this video. I wanted to try a new format just for your inspiration, a little treat for the eyes. What I like to do is to introduce you to 5 artists that I like. It can be photographers, directors, YouTubers, whatever. And for the first episode, I suggest we discover 5 Instagram accounts that I love to follow right now. And obviously, I wanted to start with my favorite genre, portrait. The first photographer we're going to talk about, and I'll start straight away with one of my favorite, Nirav Patel. Born in India and raised in the US, he defines himself as the photographer of the quiet moment. And that's really accurate. Each of his images captures a moment of tranquility. That's even his name, Nirav. I hope it's pronounced like that. It means quiet, silent in Bengali, I think. And if you know me a little bit, you know why I like these pictures. They have such a cinematic side. There's a story in each of his images. There is this ethereal atmosphere with always very soft lights, and yet with strong contrast that generally more brought by the scenography. And not only it is in his portraits, but he manages to recreate this atmosphere also in the few landscapes he does. We really have the same feeling that comes out. He also has another account dedicated to his wedding photos. And I'm not into wedding photography, for being honest, but here he manages to inject storytelling even in this type of work, even though it's generally a fairly limited frame genre, I mean. Finally, I will give you my 3 favorite images from his portfolio. First, this picture made for the musician J.P. Sachs and Meredith Adelaide. I love the perfect framing, the light coming from the window and illuminating the couple, the ambiguity to find the main subject of the picture, the positioning of the hands, everything is impeccable. Wow, there is everything in this portrait. The light is incredible, positioned to perfection, the colors are extraordinary, the opposition with the shadow cuts the image in two and gives the composition with a mysterious atmosphere, a mystery accentuated by the model. Yeah, it's just perfect. And then, it's hard to find technical justifications for the fact that I like this picture. There's a lot of them, but it's mostly the atmosphere of this portrait is really everything I like in a picture. To have managed to capture such a rich moment of emotion, such an intense expression, yeah, my favorite image. That's why I wanted to start this series with him, because he's really an artist that I love and who inspires me a lot in my own images. Closer to the traditional portrait, but at a level... Let's go now to Germany to discover the pictures of Böttcher, I guess. In his work, he manages to mix very intimate portraits with real storytelling behind, with much more fashionable images, but keeping the same atmosphere and style, if you know what I mean. But his mastery of natural light is extraordinary. Seriously, look at what he manages to do. I also like his use of diptychs and the layout of his feed. By the way, if you're interested in making diptychs or triptychs too, I recommend my latest videos. I show you how to make this kind of effect. And if you are really lazy like me, there's also a link to a template to download. You just have to put your pictures in it. Okay, let's go back to Kai. He manages to find extraordinary models, but most of all, they all fit with the universe he created. I advise you to follow his account because he often shows behind the scene of his work and it's very interesting to analyze. My top 3? The first portrait for the pose, the perfect moment, the colors too. Even better here, with the dramatic side from the low-angle view, the work and the depth of field with the face which is slightly blurred. It creates this atmosphere. Same for the spot on the sensor that it chooses to keep this grain. Okay, totally different atmosphere here, with a very nice light, this great composition with the leaves. Personally, what I prefer is the colors and the tone of this picture. I like it a lot. And about this picture, but mostly because there's a cat on it. Yeah, I'm one of those people who worship cats. But they're so cute and they don't give a shit about you. They will eat you if you stop feeding them. They are so... Ooh, next one is so good, you're not ready. Adrienne Raquel is a photographer based in New York. For me, just the best city in the world to be a photographer. And she has a very different style from what we've seen before. I must admit that I hesitated to put her in this selection. She does portraiture, but it's very fashion-oriented. And I could have saved her for another video just on Instagram accounts dedicated to fashion photography. But her images are so... Oh. Yes, I know there is a very cinematic side to some of her pictures, so of course it speaks to me. But it's mostly because lately I've been thinking a lot about colors, and her work about that, I'm looking at a lot of what she's doing these days. She's a real source of inspiration. I also like very much how she portrays femininity, which is at the heart of her work, and how some of her images have some very erotic feeling without being erotic images, and that's not something easy to do. Okay, my little selection. First image that shows her ability to create atmospheres and very particular universes. We are immediately transported to where she wants us to be. The light is superb, the pose of the model too. I love this picture because it shows a mastery of color, perfectly chosen hues, and normally very saturated. But the editing she uses makes them tarnish a bit to get this very vintage, very retro look. I love close-ups, and I really like this one especially for its composition. The two hands that frame the face, the eyebrows, even the shapes of the model's face creates like a heart. It's super well done. Sasha Arutyunova, once again a photographer based in New York, born in Moscow, and here we have a totally different style of portraiture from what we have seen so far, where we had a lot of mise en scène. Sasha is a documentary photographer, which for me, even though portraiture is my field of predilection, represents the most important, the most noble aspect of photography. And so what is very amazing about her is that even in her portraits, even studio portraits, we can find this documentary feeling. That's why I'm in love with her works. It's something I'm not capable of. Look at this portrait, for example. We could say it's very simple, and yet there are all these elements that make you wonder. The feeling of action with the cigarette, the bandage, the look out of the frame, the situation, the location that you don't really understand. A portrait is an answer. There is a person. Her portraits, they ask questions. And I think that's really the distinctive mark of great photographers. 3 images. Quite honestly, I could talk for an hour about each of her pictures, so it's going to be hard, but we'll try. I don't know why this image speaks to me, but it speaks to me. So I'm not going to technically justify my choice. It's just the way I find the photo very immersive, mysterious, and what it evokes to me. I know that there are images that are much more emblematic of her work, and that my choices may seem surprising to you, but this image is an example of the perfect moment. It's more of a portrait, it's a moment of reality. The different focus planes are perfectly chosen, the girl's expressions are perfect. If I had to synthesize some of the techniques she used, I think it's the fact that her characters are never aware of the camera, they never look at it. The second thing is that they are not frozen, they are always in the action, even the most mundane, and here the most intimate, with his beautiful gesture on his ring, is deeply into his own world. Okay, let's stop there because I told you I can do 1 hour on each picture. Come on, let's move on. Last one but not the least, we end on a high note with Herzog, a Tonto photographer, and who I find, and that's what I like about his work, doesn't get stuck into a particular genre. There are images that are totally fashion photography, others with a lot more storytelling. He works with natural light, or he uses flashes outdoor. He really has very distinctive aesthetic. You will find à boire et à manger, like we say here. Yes, all French expressions use food for metaphor. Again, and this shows how important it is, he collaborates with models that really correspond to his style, to his universe. For me, it's a big source of inspiration if you like images that are a bit pop, very colorful, very raw, but with a very calculated art direction and especially the use of props that are very well found. Okay, I've selected some images that are a bit distant from what I've shown you from his Instagram so far. Here it is, the perfect illustration of what I was saying. The mise en scène is great, and how do you want to interpret this image? How can you describe the vibe of this picture? I love it. The expression of the model is beautiful, the editing is beautiful. Okay, we can first acknowledge the perfect control of natural light. But what I find that sums up this work well here is his use of accessories, props. We have a very natural image with the location, the new model, the plants. And this weird leather glove, we have no idea where it comes from. Why? Why? That's awesome. Finally, we finish with this picture. I really like photographs of couples, and this one has captured just the perfect moment. Look at the way the models look at each other. Adds to that the light, the atmosphere, and voila. Okay, feel free to follow this artist on Instagram, all the links are in the description, but also to visit their website. You often have other pictures that you can't find on social media. It was the case for some of them that I showed you in this video. That's it for today. I really think that to progress in photography, you can't just look at your own work. You have to be passionate about photography. Create a real culture around the practice and immerse yourself on the work of others on a daily basis to be able to feed off of it. Oh, small favor before you go. Can you tell me in the comments if you are interested in this new format of artist presentation, or if Nico, show us only how to take pictures, man, that will be enough. Thank you. This is also the part where I would like to sell you my own Instagram account, but after what I showed you today, no. Instead, I suggest you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If it's your first time here, go watch a few more videos to soak up the atmosphere, and then you ring the notification bell. A little like, a comment, a kiss, and I'll see you next time. See you, mate. Keep on creating. Oh, it's so cute. So fluffy. Oh my god. What's that thing?